And you see the way he creeps, how he watches when you sleep. Oh, it's too late now, you're in too deep. And so be careful walking home in the dead of night. He's in the shadows and he waits for the perfect time. He inches closer and you hold your breath, oh God. One more step and you better start running. Sitting by your window while he waits for when you least expect it. Hand around his dagger's belt, he's hoping it might cut through the tension. And you've got no time to scream as he's cooking up his schemes. Oh, it's too late now, you're in too deep. And so be careful walking home in the dead of night. He's in the shadows and he waits for the perfect time. He inches closer and you hold your breath, oh God. One more step and you better start running. One more step and you better start running. One more step and you better start running. He's a madman. One more step and you better start running.
land. The midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize y'all's neighborhood. And whosoever shall be found without the soul for getting down must stand and face the hounds of hell and rot inside a corpse's shell. Stench is in the air, the funk of 40,000 years, and grisly ghouls from every tomb are closing in to seal your doom. And though you fight to stay alive, your body starts to shiver, for no mere mortal can resist the evil of the thriller.
I'm so embarrassed. That's
why, like, people are. I was just like, I don't think Patrick knows I'm doing this.
No.
People are like, no, God, he knows. He knows. I'm like, he has no idea.
No, I had no idea.
Oh, that was great. You saw it, Marco, though, right?
Yeah, no. It was a nice show, Patrick. Second job, DJ, good for you. No problem.
So sorry.
No, that was amazing.
I hope they couldn't hear because I was singing. I hope they didn't hear the words.
No. They just it was just the song. Oh my gosh. Everyone loved it. It was
Oh no. I'm so sorry, everybody. My apologies.
Don't be sorry, man. That was great. Now everyone wants to know what's gonna happen next week.
Little Rhinestone Cowboy.
You never know. You got to show up next week to find out. Oh, Marco, ciao.
Hello.
Welcome.
Ciao.
How are you doing?
Welcome.
Doing well.
Oh my gosh.
Doing well.
Got a little teared up there. Sorry. All right. So yeah, everyone, welcome to the live stream. Marco is here visiting today, going to help answer questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today is the It Depends Day.
Today is the It Depends Day. Patrick has the jar ready.
And Patrick is ready. Very good.
Patrick's got the money. For those that don't know what the It Depends is, so if part of the answer to the question is it depends, we put $1 in the jar. And we Kevin and Chewy are there standing by to track, and then at the end of the year we donate that to charity. So yeah, all right. So if you are new to the live stream or Guy in a Cube in general, first off, if this is your first live stream, you had a treat today. So because Patrick went to town. So, but put hashtag new in the chat. We always love seeing the new folks, and just want to say welcome and hello, Wyatt. 42 months as a producer, man. That's amazing. I appreciate that support. That is bananas.
And we appreciate it. We appreciate it. We
Oh
appreciate
my
it.
gosh, that is so. Producer is the highest tier we have. So those are kind of our long-standing. I refer to those as like super fans. And so Wyatt's been with us for a very long time. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
And then Fernando, 32 months. Whoop whoop. Yep, that was good.
Appreciate it. Fernando.
And then also Chris, good to see you in the chat. Mr. Wagner gave us a $20 super chat saying, "Get down, Patrick."
All right. That was bananas.
That was bananas. And that is now sealed on.
No,
I'm going to send your family a link to the stream so they can enjoy as well.
I was like at 10:27.
I know. I saw that. He's like, "Hey, can people see me?"
And you never responded. I'm like, they can't. They can't.
Yeah.
I'll just keep going.
He earned every penny of that $20. Yes, he did.
Okay, Crystal.
All right.
Okay, Crystal. I see
All
you.
right. All right. Sorry, Marco. We're getting a little crazy today.
No problem. It's Halloween, right?
It's Halloween on Tuesday, technically,
I know.
but this is the last stream we have before Halloween. So, yep, yeah. And then when Thriller started, like Patrick was just like, "What?" Like on the camera on mine, he's like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like, "Yes." All right, members. Shout out to members. A Guy in a Cube. We appreciate everything you do. So, like when I commented on Wyatt being a member for 42 months and Fernando as well. Those are members of Guy in a Cube. So if you see folks with a green name or the icon next to their name, those are the members. So thank you very much for all your support. If you want to learn more about being a member, you can check out the link on the screen or hit the join button down below to learn more. No commitment required. Just big thank you for checking it out. And then Data Train, becoming a Cube producer. Thank you. Thank you so much. And Miss Belinda, we appreciate what you do as well. Thank you.
Absolutely, Miss Belinda.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, so I see two folks that are new. I see Aurora and Omar that are new. Well, welcome to the stream, or Guy in a Cube in general. Like, appreciate having you here. It's always amazing. And then, yeah, all right. Yeah, Matthias, he doesn't have the oversized. I just didn't want to change the headset. It's all right. It's all good. You do you. You do you. All right. Rules for the stream. Questions. Get your questions in. Q colon in front of it. Chatmaster C is standing by to get those queued up. One time is all you need. We have a 3 strikes rule here on Guy in a Cube. If you spam your question, you will get put into a timeout by either Chatmaster C or one of our lovely moderators, except for Patrick, and probably except for Marco also. So definitely get them queued up. We do have some questions queued up. We are not doing a members only half this stream, so it's going to be open the whole time. So members, get your questions in as well. And then we did have one pre-submitted question that was relevant for today. We did have a few others. I'm holding those for next week. But Thomas sent in one. We'll just start with that one and knock that out, and then go to the queue while other folks are getting those into the queue. Sandeep, good to see you, buddy. Damu, I see you as well. All right, Aurora, first time live, love it. Well, this was the stream to do your first live stream live. That was it. You had a moment there, and poor Patrick. That was great.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Marco, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Absolutely ready.
And Marco, I apologize. I didn't. Is there anything you want to tee up? What's going on your end, or anything like?
A lot of things, but yeah, as usual, we're super busy with many things. We are completing now the optimizing DAX training. We have we released a new update to the optimizing DAX video course.
Yeah.
And we are going to add the direct query modules in
Nice.
a few weeks. We
Patrick
just
loves
finished
direct
recording.
query.
We have to edit and do some things.
Yeah.
But basically, the conclusion, it's easy. Direct query is if you have a lot of money, you can use direct query. Otherwise, stay cheap.
I would. Money's only going to get you so far on direct query. At some point, you're going to bump up to physics. So,
You know, if you want to spend money, direct query is a good way
sure.
to throw money out of the window.
okay.
To be honest, yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
If you need performance with direct query, you literally have to spend a lot of money.
Yeah,
That's the conclusion, right? Because instead of having to optimize only one engine, you have to optimize two engines, and so it's funny.
Yep.
It's
And
It's
strike
funny
that
for
balance
the
between.
funny for the AD, but not funny for the CFO will hate you. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Arcade Tech, thanks for becoming a member. Appreciate that. And then Marco, you're going to be at Past Summit, correct?
Nope.
No. But you're in the U.S. the week before.
I know, but it's yeah.
Okay. I thought you were going to be
I'm
at
not
Past.
No. I'm not gonna be at Past. I think the
Okay.
next conference. I have a few conferences in Europe.
Okay.
I go to like Budapest, and then Warsaw with Poland, and then in Amsterdam,
Yeah.
the last 2 weeks of November.
Yeah.
And then I think SQLBits probably
Yeah.
in March,
Yeah.
and then maybe Vegas in March too.
Awesome. Awesome.
I waited for so many years, having an excuse to go to Vegas for a conference, and now they scheduled one in December and then moved in March.
You're not missing a whole
no,
lot.
Why? It was
You're not
so
missing
good.
a whole lot.
Anyway,
That's okay.
yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll see you there. I thought we were going to, with you being in the U.S. the week before Pass, I assumed you'd be in Pass. So, all right.
Yeah. No.
All good. All good. All right. Let's get into the questions. So first up, we'll get Thomas's question here. Here we go. Thomas
Yep.
said, I have this nice DAX that set my current ISO week.
Yeah.
It works fine. There's the DAX. And then now I would like a slicer that sets the last 4 or N weeks dynamically as a single ISO weeks works.
Yep.
The model is about how I exercise. Yeah, that's exercise. Each week according to the daily budget. All right.
Yep.
All right. So
So if you share my screen,
we're going to head
I
over
can-
to Marco's
Yeah.
laptop.
so I mean, this is come on, Patrick, Adam. This is a serious desktop computer. It's not a laptop. Come on.
All right.
Okay. So I mean.
Marco's
I use serious
machine.
stuff
Here we
before.
go.
Yeah, Marco machine. No, this is a serious machine. Okay, so this is the report that I received from Thomas. And in this case, I want to explain how it works. You see that there is a slicer. The slicer is connected to a column that he created in the date table. So you see that this is the column in the date table, which has a formula. I will not stop much in the formula. The formula basically has to detect the week is that correspond to the current week based on some logic, and so when you filter this current week in the slicer, you basically filter 7 days. 7 days, okay? And you see 7 days here and 7 days here. Okay, so this is how it is working. The measure that you have in this line chart are week-to-date measures. Okay, so this is the initial condition, right? So this is the initial state. Now, problem. Thomas says, well, this way I filter 1 week. How can I make it more dynamic? And I want to see the last 2 weeks, the last 3 weeks, the last 4 weeks, and so on. So what we want to do is this final result, where by filtering the number of weeks here, we basically have all the charts updated, but this chart has only the value day by day, and this other chart has the accumulated value from the beginning of the period selected, which is in this case the last 11 weeks. Now, how did I achieve that? Well, there are many techniques that we can use, but certainly the idea of relying just on the calculated columns is not a good idea, because it will create a problem. You see that I have only one value for each date. So how can I say this week belongs to current week, last 2 weeks, last 3 weeks, or something like that? This is not possible, not easy. I could create multiple columns, but this is not easy to use. So the idea was the following, and here I'm going to introduce also a new feature in the last Power BI Desktop version, which is if you enable in the options, you enable one in the preview features, this where it is, Model Explorer and Calculation Groups Authoring. Okay, this is the setting that I already enabled. Exactly. So with this setting, you have this visualization where you can see the model. When you go in the diagram view, you can see the entire model, including calculation groups. And so now you can create calculation groups. And so what I did, I created a calculation group called Selection. In this calculation group called Selection, I created 4 items. One that shows just, the current value. So this is just selected measure, is like no selection. And then I want to see the current week or the year-to-date last week or the last weeks. So basically, instead of having a filter set on the date table, I created a calculation group that uses this current ISO week column to filter the current week. So this is if I want to get the same behavior I have seen before, I just apply the same filter. But if I set last week's, what I do, I create a filter where I filter the column ISO year, ISO week, which is a sequential number across all the years. I use the column that was already in the date table. Let me show you. You see that in this table we have, where it is, the column, I lost it. The column ISO year, ISO week, this one. You see that this number is always increasing by 1 every week, but it also includes the year. So by filtering one column, I filter both year and week. That's important.
Nice.
Because this way, when I go to my calculation item, I apply a filter saying I want to filter a range of weeks that correspond to the current week number that I identified with this calculate minus the value that I stored in this variable, week to display, which comes from this week's value, which is just a parameter I created by using this feature, modeling, new parameter, numeric range. What I did, I defined this week's slicer, which corresponds to a measure that has been created for me. I didn't write any DAX code in this case. I just let Power BI create the measure for me. Now, when I move the slicer, the value of that measure changes, and this range changes. Now, one important thing is the following. If you think for a moment, last week's is just a selection of the last, in this case, 5 weeks. But in this visualization, I have only the value day by day. In this visualization, I have the year to date. So how did I define here the year to date? Because year to date is this other filter, which you see, if I set year to date, now this chart is year to date. So what I did is, with the edit, with the edit interactions, it's not intuitive, the menu. They move things around too often. Where is editing? Oh, format. Edit interactions. So you see that the slicer is not filtering the line chart. You see that this is not filtered by the line chart.
Yeah,
and if I go in the filter pane,
magical.
Exactly. And if I go in if I select this, I selected here this YDD last week's. So the idea is that I applied in just one calculation group all the calculations that I wanted to apply. The YTD last week's is basically similar to last week. The only difference is that I have this additional condition, which is the date has to be less than or equal to the last visible date that I collected in another variable. I think that the DAX code is interesting, but the more important thing is that the decision I made from a data modeling standpoint and how I use the calculation group in order to obtain the navigation that I get at the end.
Love it.
I think that this is pretty much. I think that we can send this.
Yep. Yeah, I'll send it over to Thomas.
DAX to Thomas. Yeah. And
yeah.
If anyone is interested, we can Oops.
Thomas did respond in the chat. He said, what did he say? Where was it? Yeah, he said nice. So, did you like the data model, Marco? That's what he's asking now.
I don't remember. I didn't pay attention. So I just wanted to solve the problem. Let me see. No, why not? Yeah, two fact tables. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
There are no red flags. It's good.
All right.
No,
Keep it
That's a
simple.
good
Keep
model.
it simple. All right. Excellent.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Thomas. All right, we're gonna go to the queue now. Matthias was in first.
Yeah.
Makes me feel good. It's been so long since Matthias was first up. Although technically
Yeah,
not first because
Matthias.
we did the pre-submitted, but you were first in the queue. That's what matters.
First in the queue, first in our hearts.
That's it. All right. So it's a two-parter. So it says P3 or P1 in my org users with Windows 11 notebooks have difficulties in opening certain PBIX files from the local server. File corrupted, whilst users with the old Win have no problem opening the files. Part 2. Also, the Win 11 users cannot refresh PBX files where Excel files are appended in Power Query, random error messages with XML, ODBC format. Any ideas? So I'll say that we're using Windows 11. I actually, in my setup, I've got a Windows 10 and a Windows 11 machine, and they go across fine. Like, I've not had any problems related to that. So my initial thought is it's environmental.
It works on my machine.
Yeah.
You're saying it works on my machine.
It
so
works.
should
It
work
works.
on yours too, yeah.
There's no problem. Like, it works. Well, so like that's what leads me to believe it's not a consistent thing, which makes me feel like there's something environmental going on. Something with your environment is contributing to that problem. The best thing I could say is open a support ticket, but I don't know what you would get out of that. But there's nothing we can do on this stream to troubleshoot
Yeah,
that.
I just
I
don't
think
know.
it's
I don't
something
know.
environmental that's going on. So
Whoever that is.
I don't know if you have any other thoughts, Marco, but
We can't
No,
even say it
yeah.
depends on that one.
It seems something related to a driver or something like that.
yeah.
But you can open ticket support with Microsoft, and in a few weeks you will get an answer.
Yep. All right. So Darren's got two different questions in here. I'm going to pick one because I think Marco likes this topic. So how will visual specific DAX, so we're talking visual calcs, change the techniques used to create measures?
Well, it will not change the technique to create measure because you're not creating measure. You're creating a calculation that is local to the visual. A measure is something that you create in the semantic model that everybody can use. And by the way, I love the semantic model name for the new name for dataset.
Me too,
because actually
Marco.
it's better
Me too.
expressed.
Well, we were in
Yeah.
the room when we were whiteboarding those names. I remember that. Patrick wasn't
Yeah,
there, but I was there.
Yeah.
So.
It's a good point. It's a good point. So for the semantic model, you have when you have a measure, you can share the measure with many reports. What you create for with a calculated visual is just for that visual. Full stop.
Yeah.
And it travels with the report, not the model. So,
Exactly.
Yep.
Sorry, but let me highlight. It just works on that visual.
Yes.
Right. Correct. Yeah. So it's not like a report level measure where you can use that across visuals. So it's even more specific. Got it. All right. Let's see here. So Laura has a question. So if I shouldn't do calculated columns, how are we doing child-parent patterns, etc.?
Let me
Wait,
explain
wait.
to the wider audience. So
Before Marco. Wait.
if you're not following
Who said? Sorry.
if you're not following Twitter trends, last week I think we had a trend topic which was don't create calculate columns. As usual, my position is it depends.
It depends.
Why calculate columns could be not the right thing to do in many circumstances, especially when you have, let's say, when you have a row level calculation in a table. So you create a formula that only depends on the other columns of the same table and you have no references with other rows of the same table with other tables in the model, then probably the calculated column is not the right thing to do, even though there could be cases where you say, wait, it's the same, come on, and you cannot create a calculated column somewhere else. But let's say 99% of the times, probably it is not a good idea. But if the calculated column is created to keep the consistency of the model to solve a few problems, like, for example, a calculated relationship, which is a relationship that you create. Imagine this. You have a relationship between two tables that connects two or more columns. In that case, creating the calculated column could be actually a good idea, especially if you use direct query, which I don't suggest you to do. But in case you want to spend your money and use direct query, of course, the calculated column is the only way you can create a relationship using two columns in a join. That's one thing. But also, in case you are combining data from different models, for example, imagine you have multiple islands and you connect in a composite model, and that's another case where you might want to do that, because the alternative is not actually simple. Because when you use a composite model, you have no control over the other model. So how can you solve the problem? So there are a number of side cases, and not to mention other particular cases within the model that certainly are advanced cases, but or for example, another thing could be, because one point of the discussion is, what about the calculate table? Because the calculate table is technically still calculated in the model, but it's it's something that you usually use, for example, to solve a problem with the security. So for security problem, you want to create a non-visual total. Well, you can rely on something else, but I will say that it's safer to use a calculate table in that case, because you have 100% guarantee that the number is consistent. Otherwise, it's up to you to make sure that the data is consistent, which is something that you increase the risk of having data that is not correct. So I would say it depends. It depends. It depends.
It depends. And the chat has definitely been engaged on this one.
Yeah.
As I expected.
But who started this? Who said no calculated columns? I'm sorry. I haven't been on Twitter much lately, so I'm just trying to figure out who would say never.
Chris Wagner.
Yeah.
Chris Wagner.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah.
It was Chris.
Chris, you started.
No,
Oh, he's in the chat. He's contributing to the
Yeah,
chat.
we
love you, Chris.
I know.
We love you, Chris.
Chris started this.
We disagree, but I love Kratos BI, so it's fine.
Okay, Chris.
Yes. So no, the chat's been lively.
We disagree as friends. Come on.
Yeah, I do feel that I'm using the force, and I feel a disturbance, and I feel Chris is like yelling at his monitor right now. I'm visualizing that in my head. So I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong,
Probably
Chris.
is.
He might be.
Chris, he probably is.
Throwing a pen across the room. So we love
He's
you.
like, I like these guys too. I like these guys.
All right. Thank you, Laura.
Thank
you, Laura, for the question.
There's a philosophical point here, which we all love. I mean, we are, who is in IT, dream to live in a world where it's 0 or 1, black and white. Unfortunately, this universe is, a large range of shade of gray. It's it depends. Come on.
Yeah.
How many shades of gray? Oh, never mind. Moving on. All right. We did that one.
He said he's walking around his yard yelling.
Okay. Well, I'm sure your neighbors appreciate that. So also, FYI, for folks that have been submitting questions, I am prioritizing like DAX modeling, that kind of question. So if I'm not answering your question and you got it in early, that's why. All right. No, that's not. I should have been looking at these.
There was a good modeling one. I saw a good modeling one come through.
Here we go. I've got Nikhil's got one here. Does data type of relationship column, string versus integer, in Power BI matter when it comes to performance? And I remember we had a long discussion on this.
Yes, a long discussion about this.
Okay, it depends on which performance, right? Because if we talk about query performance, no. If we talk about processing performance, then of course, when you have a string, you certainly have a dictionary, which requires more time to be built. Whereas if you have an integer column, it could be encoded. But if you have a column encoded and then you create a relationship, the next time you refresh the table, you have a dictionary the same. So unless you do some trick, so well, that's usually it's pretty much the same. But just to say it depends another time, I wanted to say that with a string you have a dictionary. It depends day, right?
Yes. Fernando, don't use Dataverse Gwig columns. Okay.
What?
Dataverse. It's on the dynamic
Dataverse.
side. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Stop. The sentence I have seen was talking about string versus integer.
Yeah, a lot of people translated that to GWID.
No. Okay. Global unique identifier is again, it's just for the rich people, right? So the rich people have a lot of memory, and so that's fine. But we poor, we people with a budget, we tend to convert the global unique identifier to something else if we can, right?
So a surrogate key of sorts. Yes.
Yeah, that would be better.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Question for Patrick specifically from Tom, one of our longtime members. Does Patrick have a Sphere show in the works in Vegas?
I want to go there.
I'll say it depends. You'll have to come to the conference in March in Vegas and find out. Like maybe that's the attendee party. Who knows?
I am so embarrassed.
All right. Sharista, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Should I learn MDX? I'm new to Power BI. I'm going to say no.
Well, MDX today is still used by. Yes, it depends.
It does depend. It technically does.
It always depends. Sorry, I forgot. I forgot to mention it depends at the beginning. So I would say for Power BI, no, you don't need MDX to use Power BI. But MDX is the language used by many other clients that can connect to Power BI through XML endpoint. For example, if you use Excel, which is a Microsoft product, if you use Tableau, which is not a Microsoft product, and if you use other products as a client, they usually use MDX. I'm not aware of many products that use DAX as a client language to create a Power BI model. And the reason is that there are other products server side that use MDX. I don't know. Pentao is an open source software. SAP uses MDX. I think there are other products of other vendors that use MDX on the server side. So that's the reason why you find more clients. Do you need to write MDX today? Probably no, but that's another story.
Yep. Well, and maybe you said this, Marco, but like if you're actually using analysis services multidimensional in your org, then probably you should learn MDX. So I doubt you are though.
No, I mean I love MDX, but so let's say that if you have an infinite amount of time, yes, you should study MDX. If you have a finite amount of time, as many people in this world, but there are universes where, of course, they have more time. But in this universe, you have a limited amount of time. So if you have to choose between DAX and MDX, and you work with Power BI, probably you want to use DAX first. But yes, if you have in your company, but again, at that point, you're using Power BI just as a client connected to an existing model, and you have a number of limitations in what you can do. So probably you have a migration in place. Many companies I have seen in the last few years wanted to migrate from multidimensional to tabular to the model with DAX, unless they use specific features in MDX that are not available in DAX. So there are a few financials applications that usually are not migrated, but there are exceptions usually.
Yeah. And I like Tristan's comment. Migrating from MDX to DAX. Well. Yeah, multidimensional and tabular, but that's a big work effort too. And it's like if it's working, like I don't know.
Yep.
Lots
Just press
of
the
lots of
easy
things.
migrate button.
Yeah, just hit the easy migrate button. That's right. Let's see here. There are a couple of Fabric questions. So Tristan, I'll grab your question here. So Marco, another Visual Calcs. Do you believe Visual Calcs will have a great adoption and some great use cases? I'm afraid beginners who are the target for this feature will be lost. It's too complicated.
It depends. It depends.
Yes.
Now let me explain why. So first of all, nobody tried the visual calc, right? So we rely on some demo at the moment. So unless because it's still under NDA. So yeah, we if we used it, we cannot talk about it. And of course, we can say that it exists, but I cannot specifically talk about the the use I could have done about the feature because it's still NDA. So what I can say is that it depends because the idea of the visual calc is to not require knowledge about the language at all, but clearly the scope is to create simple calculations. Okay, simple calculations means what you would create in Excel with 2 or 3 operations. That's it. Okay, so if you start thinking about some crazy stuff, go back and forth with the numbers to do something recursive that you cannot, and no. So it should be actually the entry point for the beginners who don't want to learn DAX. Because if you know DAX, usually you already have another way to solve the problem that is more flexible because you don't have to copy and paste the measure in every visual. Because remember, you are creating a measure that works in that visual only. Now, people don't realize this, but the implication of this sentence, it doesn't even work in the report. It works in that visual only, not even in the page, in that visual only. And when you create a measure, usually you reuse the measure in many places. So it should be simple.
Should be. We'll see. All right, because we're on the topic of visual calcs, Toma added a question. So second on this, will it only be available with on-object interactions? And I'm going to say no. It's part of a visual piece, so it's just you add it to a visual. So, and when you say on-object, I'm referring to on-object editing.
I can say what I like about this question is what this in question implies. This question implies, I don't like an object interaction. I'm not going to use it. Can I still use the visual? So that's
which I will say, I will tease. Stay tuned. Patrick and I have recorded 2 videos on-object editing with Rosie from the product team. You're gonna see some good stuff. And the second video, she actually talks about some future things coming that I think you will like. So stay tuned on that. Just teasing that a little bit. So
if I can say a word here, I know that you work for Microsoft, so you will not be able to, but I have seen too many preview features in the last
been a lot
months.
It's been
probably also 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
That should not have been shown in preview, in my opinion. They were not tested enough, also internally. And I think that this is a little bit pushing too much. If something is not ready to be shown, don't show it. Because otherwise, the problem is that you end up having a feature that will not be tested when it is ready. So, for example, you're saying, "Oh, now something good is going to happen," and I'm skeptic because I have heard about this so much time that I try to keep it disabled. Yeah. I tried to use it for many months, and after a while, I provided my feedback to Microsoft saying, "Look, I tried, I gave up." Because it's actually.
I will also say though, when we were recording the video, Patrick actually got upset because I made the comment like, oh, that changed since I didn't show that in the video I did, so I apologize to everyone. Patrick's like, yeah, Adam got it wrong, and she's like, no, this was there after you recorded, and I'm like, oh, okay, I feel better. So what I would comment on that is they're listening to feedback and they are making changes. So even since the last time you used it, Marco probably is, and that's the thing I do like is they do listen to feedback and they try and make changes based on that. So. And there's more stuff coming. So I do get your point about the preview piece.
But the point, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's a fair point. Okay. And then Toma, thank you for the super chat. So she was saluting you, Marco. It didn't come across on the screen, but or he or she. Toma, I don't know. Sorry, I said she. I don't know. Apologies for that. I don't know. Okay, let's see here. Going back to the queue. RK Tech. Let's see. This is interesting. Is there an easier way to migrate MDX-based reporting services reports created in reporting services with shared data source to paginated to Power BI? Ooh. So there is a tool.
Yeah.
So there's two.
I don't know if
there's two pieces of this.
Yeah.
Hey Alex, can you drop the link to the migration reporting services migration? There's a GitHub repo for that. And then, but the other thing is, I don't know if MDX is supported from a paginated perspective.
It's the connection back. It's the connection back
right.
to SSAS on-prem. That's what I'm thinking about.
So as long as we support the connection, it should work. But the other thing you're going to have to do is you are going to have to fix things up because it's a shared data source. So you got to fix that. The shared data source doesn't convert over.
It converts them. It converts them to embedded data sources. Yeah.
Thank
I said
you,
that in the
Alex.
video. I did. But I'm just trying to find out which data sources we support.
All right. I have to believe it supports analysis services on premises. It might not, though. That would be the key, though. So use that migration tool and then give that a try. Yeah, that's fine, RK. So it's going to be, once you do the migration, though, it won't be in Visual Studio anymore. So it's SSAS, really, we just care about the RDL file. Yeah. It says it?
SSAS is supported.
There you go. So RK Tech, if you haven't tried that migration tool, give it a try. Give it a try. You don't know. And then I like Toma's comment. that was funny. So he said, Marco thinks, did you all really keep all your MDX questions for me? So that's the theme of the stream is MDX. Who knew?
Yeah, but I mean, I was good at MDX and probably I'm a little bit over today.
I was not.
Marco's like, I could take either one, DAX, MDX, bring it on. I don't care.
All right.
Yes.
Let's see.
There was a model one in here. I got to go back and look. There was a modeling one in there. I got to go find it.
I'm looking. Was it high granularity?
I think so.
All right, let's grab that one. Darren. So sometimes I need high granularity. Date, product, customer. Most times, though, I just need month, product, customer. What's a boy to do? Summarize or maybe have the same fact at both granularities?
It depends. If you have...
Yes, it does. It does.
So if you have, let's say, first of all, are you in import mode or direct query mode? Assuming you're in import mode, I would say that if your fact table is below 200-300 million rows, we don't care, and you just get the data at the date table, at the date level. If you have, let's say, 10 billion rows, for sure, I will create two fact tables because it's a way to optimize the calculation to have two fact tables at different granularities and a DAX measure that hijack the calculation depending on the granularity. But these are extreme optimization that you need for several billion rows tables in import mode.
Yep.
In direct query mode, talk to your DBA. He will tell you something.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, if you Marco, so if I have, I'm just thinking, if I have date, product, customer, and I have a date table, I have month already, so it'll aggregate up. So if it's not a lot of data, just date, product, customer covers the month also with the date table.
Yes, but the problem is that if you have 10 billion rows, every query
Right,
runs
right.
in at least a
Right.
few seconds. So if you want to achieve performances, you need to create a sort of aggregation, but you don't have aggregations that in import mode, so you have to manage it by your own.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Yep. Okay.
And I just dropped.
like
So I know Phil Seamark's got a lot of different blogs out there about dealing with aggregations and whatnot. So I dropped a link to one of his, which is like a mixed grain aggregation. So,
yeah.
yep,
He's
lots
got
of different
lots of
approaches.
blogs.
Lots of different
Yep.
approaches. So,
That's why it depends.
Yeah,
That's
but-
why it depends.
But if you have one, but if you have just a few 100 million rows and you
Yeah.
import data, you basically
Just-
don't care. You get
yeah,
just
don't
one
care.
subtable. It just works. It's the more efficient allocation. It's the more efficient system. Best return of investment. But ROI. So
Yep.
ROI.
Yep.
Again, if you have money to spend, of course you can do a lot of things.
Marco's a little feisty.
No, I would like. No, this is. I'm
I like
explaining
it.
this. I spend sometimes, when you commute or you do stuff. So I go to Twitter.
Take a
and
shower.
Sometimes I
Yeah, that's
start to. Yeah, sometimes I start to reply because I want to troll something. But some other times I just read, and I always wonder,
Did you just say troll?
what's the point? I mean,
He
but
did.
is someone doing the math about what is the cost of what they are doing?
Yeah.
The cost means the actual power cost, right? So the energy you're spending for your query. Did you evaluate that? I mean, if you want to say the word and reduce the consumption, come on, you have to use an efficient way to get your results. And sometimes it seems that this is not what the people is doing. And that's what I'm saying. I'm just a little bit surprised about certain approaches, because at the end of the day, you refresh the data once a day and you use direct query and you have 20 million rows, and I say, what's the point here? I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
I don't
absolutely.
understand.
But
I don't understand.
But even though, right, I talk to so many people that's using direct query, and I go, why are you using it? And they're using it because however they're building the load into their systems, they shouldn't be doing it that way. They should just have,
Look,
Go.
my point, so I always say, look, if I hear any kind of answer that is not economical, I say, let me talk with your CFO. I will change whatever reason you have for using direct query. I will make something that will change it, because it's a question of, it's an economical problem. I don't understand. If you do the equation, if you do the math, what is the cost for implementing a solution using one technique, another technique, another technique, considering everything, considering the cost of the development, the cost for the processing, and the cost for the query, and the cost for the query when you scale out. Because remember, direct query doesn't scale out like import mode. Remember.
Right.
And
Yep.
people don't realize that when you have 1,000 users, it's a huge difference.
Yep.
Optimizing SQL is way more expensive than optimizing the tabular
that's a
range.
very true
way,
statement.
way.
Very true statement.
Yep.
Very
Yep.
true statement.
All right. Let's see here. Grab. All right. Let's do this. Mr. Anonymous. It'd have been funnier if your handle was Mr. Robot. I would have liked that. I am a beginner in Power BI. In my work, I'm using DAX every day. I thought he said everywhere. I was getting excited. I am facing difficulty in understanding DAX. Give me some tips to learn DAX efficiently. You are rocking. Happy Halloween.
As usual, it depends, but the first suggestion is keep it simple. And first of all, use a star schema. What does it mean?
Hey, Alex, can you drop the
Just
doc
because
to
you
what a
have-
star schema is?
Yeah, exactly. So, but the principle is the following. You have the data in some format, okay? The format of the data you have is not the format of the data you have to keep in your analytical model. The star schema is a way to define, let's say, is a guideline to define a data model that is efficient regardless of the technology. It works for SQL, it works for multidimensional, it works for tabular, it works for ClickView, it works for Tableau, it works for everything. Okay, it's not related to Power BI.
Okay.
Let's say.
Don't disagree, Adam. Don't disagree. Keep
right.
going, Marco.
Well, I meant on the
For
Tableau
one
part
going.
specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. But let's
They
say
like
that
single
in
table
general,
extracts.
in general, let's
Yeah.
say if you have a star schema, your life is easier on most of the technologies out
Yes.
there.
Yeah, Kevin.
Which means that when you have a properly defined model, you define the model according to your business requirements, according to your reporting requirements, not according to, oh, I have this data. I have this data is the initial problem, but the ultimate goal is to solve a business question. So you design the model based on the latter, not on the former. That's important. Which means that, oh, but I have to transform data. Yes. But if you do that, which is usually easier than learning DAX, DAX is usually trivial. So I go against my internet because I sell courses about DAX. So, but if you don't want to spend time learning DAX, just rely on data modeling. Usually it's easier, and you have more tools and technologies. And if you make a mistake in the, let's say, in the performance of the processing, maybe that you process a table in 1 minute instead of 20 seconds, but you do it only once per day, so nobody cares. So why not?
Yep. So
I'm not disagreeing.
no,
I'm not
I don't
disagreeing.
disagree with that either. Like, absolutely get your, and we see it all the time where if the data model's bad, your DAX is going to be even worse. So get the
Yes.
data model right.
Yes.
Follow star schema. Like Power BI loves a star schema. Beyond that, like I will plug Marco's stuff because he's not necessarily doing that. But go to SQLBI.com. They have a lot of great training there as well. There's also some other content out there. There's a we have stuff too.
No. We're going to training on.
Yeah.
What
Don't
day?
start with
Marco's?
that.
Marco?
Yeah, don't start with that though.
Okay.
So, hey, Alex, also, can you drop the link? There is learn content for like getting started with DAX, like intro to DAX. And there's some other good books out. I know Phil Seamark's got a book out there for getting started with DAX. So there's a lot of great content out there. Then once you're comfortable with DAX and want to take it to the next level, that's when you start looking at mastering DAX and the courses that are over on SQLBI plus their wonderful book. I've been building up to show this. So the definitive guide to DAX.
Volume
Volume 2. Don't necessarily start with this, but this is a great reference to have.
Yeah.
Also,
Volume 2.
they also have, go to daxpatterns.com. And get the book. There's a lot of great stuff there too. So okay, I'm done.
All right.
Yes. Oh,
You got to show Alex's question.
I know.
You
I
gotta show
saw
Alex's
it.
question.
I
You
saw
gotta
it.
show
Okay, here's Marco and Patrick. Notice he left Adam out of this. With Direct Lake, normalized or denormalized tables, or does it even matter now?
So
Star schema or flat table? Star schema or one big flat table?
I would still say
Star schema.
star schema.
Yeah.
it's the same problem. I mean,
So I've been doing some testing. I'm just gonna let you guys know. I've been doing some testing. I've taken a 500 million row table that's in Direct Lake and flattened it to one wide table, and I'm comparing it against my star schema. Not seeing that big of a performance difference.
sorry, how many million rows?
500 million, just 500 million.
100 or 500?
500. 5.
So
How many dimensions?
That's not a lot.
How many attributes?
I know it's.
yeah. So what Marco's saying is it
works.
probably
It's just-
depends.
Oh, absolutely
depends.
it depends.
It depends.
Absolutely,
So-
it absolutely depends.
So, but my
Yeah,
thing
you're
too
right.
is that with Direct Lake, the premise of Direct Lake, it's about the storage, and we're pulling it up. So the Vertipack engine is still running the queries,
look,
right?
And it's not a fair test, right? Because I haven't done put any load on it. It's just me doing this, right? So
Patrick
there's this is a long way to. I'm just thinking around. I was thinking about it. And I brought it up to Alex earlier this week, and I should have known he was going to bring it up on the live stream to stir the pot.
I can tell you, Patrick. I can tell you the test you have to do is the following. When you have a 500 million rows table, also if you have Parquet file, the problem is when you have a low granularity attribute that you have to bring in, the cost for getting the values that you have to put in a slicer, for example, is significantly higher compared to having a dimension, because the scan time is higher.
Cardinality
of course,
matters.
when you have the cache, yeah, but when you have the cache in place, this is less, this is a lower problem. But in reality, when you look at the workload with a real number of concurrent users, at the point that the cache hit is much lower, and so what you see, what you can observe, is a completely different workload. We saw that in large deployment where you have almost billion rows, and the difference is huge. So I would be careful in saying, even though you do a single query and you could see the same result, but try to do the same result with a different workload.
So part of
different.
this, Marco, was Alex was trolling. So
Yes,
that's what that was. That was a troll.
Because we had a conversation about. I was like, I'm gonna start doing some testing on that, because why wouldn't it work? It's only pulling what I need. And he's like, don't do that, Patrick. Don't even mention that to people. Don't say it to people.
And then Alex brings it up.
People are gonna right. And he said, if you say it, people are gonna start doing it. I'm like, I'm not gonna say it. I'm just testing it out. Way to go, Alex. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, my friend. Why, Patrick? Why? Thank you,Alex. I appreciate it.
I will say,
for this one.
so Casper was lurking in the chat for a while, and you brought Casper into the chat. Good
just
job.
Testing. I'm just doing some testing. I'm curious, right? That's how I learn stuff.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Thanks, Alex.
All right.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Alex is the master.
I like Laura's comment, though. Laura's like, can anyone understand your model, though? No, they cannot, Laura. No, they cannot. No, they cannot.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. As always, going back to real questions. All right, Colin's got one here. How do you account for non-traditional calendars, specifically retail 454 or 53 week, since it does not seem to be built into Power BI, such as the calendar auto tables?
I have a wonderful answer, because this time I cannot say it depends. First, no, I mean, this is easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number one, there is only one case where you should use a calendar auto table. You have a single date column in the entire data model. If you have more than 2 date columns in the same table or in different tables, you should never use calendar auto table.
Yeah.
This is rule number 1.
Yep.
Number 2, calendar auto table only support year, month, and quarters, because the standard time intelligence functions in DAX only support year, quarter, and month. How do you solve this problem? You have to create your own date table and your time intelligence calculations, which seems to be a complex thing to do unless you install a free tool called Bravo for Power BI that with a single click can create the date table and the time intelligence function for you, also for the 454. So if you go in daxpatterns.com, you can find the patterns that explain how to do that. But if you don't want to copy and paste the code and adapt the code to your model, just use Bravo for Power BI, couple of clicks, done. Next question.
Well, because that'll generate the measures for you, which accommodate for that. So yes. That's beautiful.
Implementing a pattern that is described in DAX patterns, yes.
Because I was going to say in my head, I was just like, well, wait, but you still have to account for the table from a DAX. I'm like, wait, but you write the DAX, so it's good.
No, we
I used the other day. I used Bravo the other day. It just works. It really just works. I mean,
all right.
Yeah.
So, Mark, Carter had a question as a member. It's not DAX related, but I'm going to grab it. It's a quick answer. Any news updates on Fabric release in Department of Defense's government U.S.? We started encountering issues last week with Capacity Metrics app and data connection errors. So those are two different things. So Department of Defense typically lags from what happens in commercial clouds. So stay tuned on that. There'll be blog posts and whatnot when things are available. For the issue you have with the Capacity Metrics app, open a support case. You should not be encountering that. So there you go. There you go. Two different things there. Okay.
There was one way up top about Fabric shortcuts. I know it's not DAX, but I just need to know more details on that one.
You want to answer it?
Yeah, let's ask about that one because this,
find it.
You see it?
I remember seeing it.
Okay.
Hang on.
Yeah.
I think it was RK. So in Fabric, creating a shortcut from one lakehouse to other lakehouse. Don't add objects under table, but they end up being in unidentified.
Yeah.
Any idea why?
Yeah. If you are trying to create a shortcut in the table sections to files that exist in another lakehouse that are not Delta, they're not going to show up. They're not going to show up as managed tables in the table section. It's going to show as unidentified. You need to first convert those files to Delta files, then create the shortcut to it, or create a managed table out of it in the lake house. Then create the shortcut. Then it'll work. You just can't point to files with shortcuts.
Yeah. So if you do a shortcut in Lakehouse B from a table that exists in Lakehouse A, that should just show up as a table.
That'll
You're
work.
good to go.
That'll work.
But if you do it from the file section into the table section, you may have some issues there, as Patrick said. So that's the other thing when you're creating a shortcut from a lakehouse perspective. You have the option of bringing it into the table section or the file section. So be aware of that. So cool. All right. Let's see here. That's not a question. So Robin's got a question here. Any idea if and when dynamic format strings will eventually work inside Connect with Excel? So this, I think, has to do with the fact that it's doing MDX specifically from Excel.
Wait a minute. But we are talking about the DAX dynamic format strings? Because they should work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why doesn't
Connect
work?
with Excel.
I remember there was a limitation a while back, specifically with calculation groups, but then that was addressed. So yeah, Robin, it'd be good to have more info on your scenario. Yeah, and then
It should work. I mean, as far as I know, it should work. Actually, it's funny because the dynamic format always worked with Excel and didn't work with Power BI. Was the problem. So it was actually the opposite. So I don't know. I mean, it seems strange.
Yeah. So we've been trying to just crashes Excel. So it sounds like there might be something else going on. Something specific with what you're doing. It should work.
Okay, but
Should
it's
work.
strange
Yeah, I'll have to
because
try it.
in theory it should work.
All right. There you go.
So if it doesn't work, it's some bug. It has to be fixed, but it should work. I mean,
Yeah.
check the version of
Especially
Excel too. But
if it's crashing Excel, that's weird. Like that's pretty extreme. Oh my gosh, Fernando. Let's see here. I'm looking for another.
Jeez.
Oh, here we go. Andrew.
Weird timing.
All right. We'll grab this question, and then I want to grab Fernando's question, and then we'll wrap up. Do you have any guidance on measuring the two options of extending the fact table or creating a dimension with high cardinality?
it depends.
It depends.
because okay, so let's see where to start. I provide an example to explain what we're talking about. Imagine you have the Contoso database and you have the order number and the line number in the fact table. And the question is, should we keep those, high detailed information into the fact table? And this is technically called denormalized dimension into the fact table, or should we move that information out in a dimension? Now, the latter is usually not a good idea. If you end up having a dimension that has approximately the same cardinality of the fact table, usually we prefer to store the column in the fact table because it's just less expensive. There could be cases where you want to use the same information to connect different fact tables. At that point, you are, I would say, forced to use a separate dimension. So it's a more I would say is more a data modeling problem rather than a performance optimization issue. And it depends because it depends on what your priority is. So if your priority is just the performance, probably you want to keep in the fact table overall is better. But if you also have a functional requirement that needs the dimension independent from the fact table, then maybe you prefer to keep it as a separate dimension. So 90% of the times I would say, no, it should be in the fact table, but there could be cases where you want to keep a separate dimension. Exceptions.
Excellent. All right. The last question, Fernando popped it in the chat. I'm just going to answer it. When is Fabric going generally available? That's not an it depends. I'm going to say I don't know. So they haven't announced it yet. What is the it depends for? It depends.
On who you ask. It depends on who you ask.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. Oh my gosh.
$10, Kevin.
There you go, $10. Kevin, that was for you, $10. So there you go. So yeah, it's like whenever they announce it. It hasn't been announced yet, so stay tuned. Stay tuned. All right, we are overtime, and I know Patrick's got to run, and also I'm being yelled at. So we are going to end it here. Marco, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much, Marco.
I look forward
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you in Atlanta. So especially now that you're not going to be a pass, so that makes it.
Yeah,
it good.
no, unfortunately not.
Yep. All right, Patrick. Actually, Marco, I'll ask you instead. Any closing? Well, we'll give you a shot too. Marco, any closing words of wisdom?
It depends.
It depends. Okay. Patrick, any closing words of wisdom?
I was watching this show, and this really stuck with me, right? We all have dreams. We all have dreams, right? So just remember, no one gets to be the gatekeeper to your dreams. Have a great weekend.
Oh. And also, Patrick, just Mark Carter dropped a super chat. Thank you, Mark. And he said, thanks to Marco and the pre-show. So that was all you, Patrick. All right, everyone. Okay. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
I'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
I'll see you soon. All right, Adam.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
I drew fast, but he drew first, had to make me bleed. The quench is thirst, oh, yeah. Now